Spider-Man Brand New Day is easily one of the most talked about films of 2026 right now, and honestly, with everything that has been coming out about this thing over the last couple of months, there is just so much to break down. So let's just get right into it. Spider-Man Brand New Day is officially hitting theaters on July 31st, 2026, and at this point, that date is right around the corner. Now, to really understand why Spider-Man Brand New Day feels so completely different from anything we have seen before with Tom Holland's Peter Parker, you have to go back to where No Way Home left off. That 2021 film ended with Doctor Strange casting a spell that wiped Peter Parker from everyone's memory. Every single person in the world forgot he ever existed. His friends, his mentors, the people he grew up around, all of it just gone. And Spider-Man Brand New Day picks up 4 years after that moment. Peter is now in his mid-20s, living completely alone in New York City, and the world he used to know has moved on without him. MJ and Ned are out there living their lives, going to college, growing up, building futures, and Peter is watching all of that happen from a distance, anonymously, without either of them having any idea who he is. And that right there is what makes Spider-Man Brand New Day feel like something genuinely new. This is not a teenager figuring out his powers. This is a grown man dealing with full-on adult isolation in one of the most crowded cities on the planet, with nobody in his corner. Director Destin Daniel Cretton, who you know from Shang-Chi and The Legend of the Ten Rings, described Peter's situation in a recent interview in a way that really hits. He said Peter is living in the middle of New York City, surrounded by millions of people, yet somehow feels completely disconnected and alone. He said this is the first time we see Peter trying to live his life outside of his community of friends and family, and that his isolation is going to have some unexpected consequences that will complicate everything in his life. And Tom Holland himself has been very open about where this film sits in the larger story. He called it a rebirth, something completely new, and said it feels more like the first movie in a next chapter rather than a fourth installment of a franchise. Those are big words. And based on everything that is out there right now, he is absolutely not wrong. The title Spider-Man Brand New Day itself was pulled directly from a 2008 comic storyline that completely reset Peter Parker's world from the ground up, and the MCU version is doing something very similar, stripping Peter down to almost nothing and forcing him to figure out who he is without anyone around him. Now let's talk about what is actually happening to his powers in Spider-Man Brand New Day, because this is one of the most fascinating parts of the whole setup. The trailer that dropped back in March showed Peter developing what appear to be organic web shooters, not the tech-based ones built into his Stark suit, and his eyes are turning black in a way that looks far from controlled or intentional. Mark Ruffalo's Bruce Banner actually drops a line in that trailer directly addressing it, telling Peter that if his DNA is mutating, that would be enormously dangerous. So now it is not just about the villains coming at him from every direction. It is about Peter's own body potentially becoming the threat. A lot of people are already pointing toward the Six-Armed Saga from the comics, a storyline where Spider-Man's mutation spirals completely out of control and transforms him physically in a major way. Whether Spider-Man Brand New Day goes that far is still unknown, but the trailer is pointing hard in that direction, and it adds a whole layer of tension to the story that we have never really seen in a live-action Spider-Man film before. Now, let's get into the cast for Spider-Man Brand New Day, because this lineup is genuinely stacked. Tom Holland is back as Peter Parker, Zendaya returns as MJ, and Jacob Batalon is back as Ned. But the dynamic between those three is completely different now. Peter remembers everything about their friendships, every conversation, every moment, and they have zero memory of him. That alone could carry a whole movie. Mark Ruffalo is in Brand New Day as Bruce Banner, but not in full Hulk mode. He is apparently wearing a device to suppress his Hulk side while teaching at Empire State University, which is a really smart way to bring a major Avenger into the story without making the whole thing feel like a team-up event. And John Bernthal is back as Frank Castle the Punisher, and Tom Holland described that dynamic in a way that sounds incredibly interesting. He said Bernthal's Punisher exists in this R-rated kind of universe, and they have essentially picked him up and dropped him straight into Peter's world. That tonal clash between Spider-Man and the Punisher, one who pulls his punches and one who absolutely does not, is going to be one of the most compelling things in Spider-Man Brand New Day. Trammell Tillman, who you know from Severance, is playing a character called Bill, widely believed to be Bill Metzger, an anti-mutant agitator pulled directly from X-Men comics. And his presence in Spider-Man Brand New Day is a pretty significant signal that mutants are going to be a major thread running through this entire story. On the villain side, Michael Mando is finally back as Mac Gargan, Scorpion, a character who was first teased all the way back in Spider-Man Homecoming in 2017. So whether Marvel was playing the longest game in superhero movie history or just circling back around, Scorpion is now front and center in Spider-Man Brand New Day nearly a decade later. Marvin Jones III is playing Tombstone, and on top of those two you also have Boomerang and Tarantula confirmed in the film, alongside The Hand, the shadowy ninja organization that MCU fans will remember from the Netflix Daredevil era. That is an absolutely wild villain roster for a single solo film, and it tells you just how big the scope of Spider-Man Brand New Day actually is. But the biggest ongoing conversation around this film is Sadie Sink, and her mystery role is honestly one of the most compelling things going on in the MCU right now. Sadie Sink, most known for playing Max in Stranger Things, joined the cast of Spider-Man Brand New Day in early 2025 in a role that Marvel has never officially confirmed. And the level of secrecy around it at this point almost feels intentional, like Marvel knows exactly what they have and they are holding it until the movie opens. Multiple trusted insiders have reported she is playing Jean Grey, the founding X-Man and one of the most iconic characters in Marvel Comics history. Leaked images from the production show her in a green and yellow outfit that lines up almost perfectly with Jean Grey's classic Marvel Girl costume. The trailer itself keeps cutting to imagery of soldiers and regular people being mentally manipulated against their will, which maps directly onto telepathic powers. And then you have Trammell Tillman's anti-mutant character sitting right there in the same film. All of it is pointing to the same answer. Sadie Sink is almost certainly Jean Grey in Spider-Man Brand New Day, and Marvel is just not ready to say it out loud yet. On the production side, filming ran from August all the way through December 2025, with location work across Glasgow, Scotland, and throughout England, and soundstage work at Pinewood Studios. Glasgow was genuinely transformed for the shoot, massive set pieces, full street closures, fans showing up to watch scenes be filmed in real time. Tom Holland actually suffered a concussion during production, which halted filming for about a week, but he came back and they wrapped the whole thing by mid-December. And after it was all done, Holland said Spider-Man Brand New Day was the most creatively fulfilling filming experience of his entire career. Destin Daniel Cretton echoed that completely, saying directing the film felt like one of the roles of a lifetime. Michael Giacchino is also returning as composer from the previous MCU Spider-Man films, so the score is in very good hands. Now, in terms of where Spider-Man Brand New Day fits in the big picture, this is the 38th film in the MCU and lands as part of Phase 6, hitting theaters about in July 2026. Producer Amy Pascal has already confirmed this is intended to be the start of a brand new trilogy for Tom Holland, which means Spider-Man Brand New Day is not just a standalone reset, it is the opening chapter of a whole new era. Everything this film sets up, Peter's mutation arc, the villain threads, the mutant storyline, the MCU's expanding presence of the X-Men, all of it is going somewhere much bigger. And with The Hand confirmed, Jean Grey almost certainly stepping into the MCU for the very first time, and Peter's own biology becoming a danger to him, Spider-Man Brand New Day looks like it is going to plant seeds the MCU will be paying off for years. Spider-Man Brand New Day swings into theaters on July 31st, 2026. And that's that for today's video, folks. Thank you all so much for watching, and we will see you in our next video.